All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, the Brooklyn Nets shocked the basketball world in 2019 when they were able to sign both Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving as free agents that summer. The Nets signed Durant even though that he was not going to be available for the entire 2019-2020 NBA season after suffering a ruptured Achilles tendon during the 2019 NBA Finals as a member of the Golden State Warriors. Now, without Durant and Irving last season, the Nets were able to make the playoffs. Pardon me, that season rather. Then last season, the expectations for the Nets really increased, especially following the acquisition of James Harden from the Houston Rockets to play alongside KD and Kyrie. But injuries ravaged that team as they never really had their big three play together. And of course, by the end of that series, it was a 50% James Harden out there with a 75% Kevin Durant with no Kyrie. And with that said, Brooklyn fell to Milwaukee in the second round of the playoffs. And this season, things have gone from bad to worse from the Nets, as Kyrie cannot play at the Barclays Center due to COVID restrictions. Harden has been traded to the Philadelphia 76ers in exchange for Ben Simmons, who has yet to suit up for the Nets due to a back injury. And Durant missed nearly 7 weeks of the season as a result of a knee injury. Now, Durant did return to the Nets lineup last night, but it was not enough for Brooklyn as they fell at home to the Miami Heat by the score of 113 to 107. And in that contest, Durant went for 31 points. But to me, what should be alarming is the fact that KD played 35 minutes after just returning to the lineup from that knee injury. While, the Nets also lost to a Heat team last night who didn't have the services of Jimmy Butler, Kyle Lowry, or PJ Tucker. And obviously, without Kyrie or Ben Simmons, the Herculean efforts of Durant were not enough for Brooklyn. Now, when KD went down with the injury earlier this season, the Nets were 28-7-15 and one of the top teams in the East. Now Brooklyn currently finds themselves with a record of 32-32 as they were just 5-16 without the services of Kevin Durant. We saw all of the drama between James Harden and Kyrie Irving. You heard the rumors about them not wanting to play with each other. You saw the fact that they simply had no cohesion whatsoever when they were on the court. I've never been a fan of Steve Nash being the head coach of this team. I always felt like the Nets needed a stronger voice, a more experienced head coach than the first time guy in Nash to lead this squad. And I think it's showing more and more this year, his ineffectiveness. You look at it right now, the Nets made a lot of sacrifices in order for this to work. And when I say sacrifices, draft picks as well as players, because let's not forget the Nets were a playoff team before Kyrie and KD arrived in Brooklyn. They were building something through the system of Kenny Atkinson, and of course, that blew up in smoke very quick. And of course, the Nets have really gotten rid of some young studs as far as they had on their team, as well as draft compensation. So you know what? Whenever they decide to blow this up, they're more than likely going to be starting back from scratch, or starting over from scratch rather. But you look at it, and to me, the playoffs showed last year that KD cannot carry this team by himself. And that's not a slight at all on Kevin Durant, because we all know that Kevin Durant is one of the best players currently in the NBA as far as scoring ability goes. I mean, when Kevin Durant is in the zone, just give him the basketball and get out of his way. But the thing was, you go back to game 7 last year in the second round when the Nets lost to Milwaukee. KD did all he could to carry that team, but it simply just was not enough against the Bucks. And right now, KD can still be KD, but he can't do it all by himself. He needs a talent around him. And right now, with Kyrie not playing at home and you still don't have Ben Simmons, we don't know how all three of them are going to play together. That is also a big thing. And now you're asking them to develop some type of cohesion when the playoffs are right around the corner. It's not happening. And, it's unfortunate because the talent is there for the Nets to do some big things in the postseason. But, everybody's not on the same page. And I don't care who you are. If you don't have everybody on the same page, especially your key people, it's not going to work. So I look at this team right now and you ask yourselves, will the Nets, be able to get the ship righted in time to save their season? I mean, they're holding on by a thread to eighth place in the Eastern Conference. The Charlotte Hornets and Atlanta Hawks are nipping at their heels. So they got to try to find a way to get some type of cohesion and get on track and build some momentum for themselves. But it's not easy, especially when, one of your best players, Kyrie Irving, cannot play home games right now. So we don't know what's going to come of that situation with the city of New York. But nonetheless, I mean, are you really going to sit up there and ask Kevin Durant to try to carry this team again? And it's easier said than done. I mean, basically, come playoff time, you could pencil in Kevin Durant for 30 or 35 a night. But, is his Herculean effort once again going to be enough to carry this team? And the answer is no. You look at the Eastern Conference, and it's gotten so much better this year. I mean, you look at the Miami Heat, they're playing some good basketball. The Chicago Bulls, you still got to worry about the Philly, Milwaukee, Boston, Cleveland, Charlotte, all of these teams are right there in the mix as far as being playoff teams. And of course, Miami, Philly, and Milwaukee, they're kind of the litmus test. They're kind of the gold standard of this conference. Brooklyn was in that mix when the season began, but of course, this is why I'm talking about them on this podcast right here. So I just don't see it working. It's a darn shame because, for Kevin Durant, he figured that he could come to Brooklyn and be able to replicate some of what he did in Golden State as far as helping another organization win a championship. And it looks like it's not going to happen. We're 3 years into this because, again, KD, his first year, he sat out. Last year, we saw them reach the conference semis, and they fell short. And right now, with 20 games to go, so we're about the three-quarter mark of the regular season here. It's not coming together for the Nets. And I mean, you look at it, they have a whole bunch of former All-Stars, but what can you say? It just has not come together for this team, and it's unfortunate. You look at them the way that they're playing right now, first round exit more than likely. And it's tough to say, but you know what? It is what it is. It just never came together for the Nets this season. I don't think it ever will, at least for this season, and probably going forward. We'll have to wait and see. But nonetheless, if you're a Brooklyn Nets fan, you got to be frustrated for what you're seeing. And again, for Kevin Durant to go out there and put up the effort that he did last night, for this team to still lose at home like they did to a depleted Miami Heat team is not a good sign for this team coming down the stretch, and it's not good for them with the playoffs around the corner. So let's see how if the Nets can find a way to get it together. But the way things are shaping up, I am not confident in them getting it turned around. So, folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. Want to take the time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you have not already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it will be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. You can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So, once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, signing off, saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.